Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am just jazzed and thrilled to see all of you on here. Thank you so much for hopping on and commenting. I got to say hi to all of you before we get to our project. So today's project, you guys, is a little bit different. I'm calling it Back to Basics, and we're going to do four different containers: metal, glass, terracotta or pottery, and then a basket. And I'm going to show you, we're going to work through each one of those, and I'm going to explain to you how to color those and stamp those. And, sometimes it's just a little thing. And for those of you who've been doing this a long time, this will be a good refresher for you. And there are also a lot of new people, and sometimes it's a little tiny thing that just needs to be corrected. So we're going to go through all of that. We're going to stamp some flowers and things inside, and I'm going to just kind of walk you through some of the basic rules of how to stamp these things. So I think it'll be good. Kendra used to do a back to basics class once let's see, was it once a week that she did it? I think it was. And she always covered a lot of little details like this. How to stamp things, how to troubleshoot, how to fix things. And I think it was such a good tutorial for people, especially beginners. So we haven't had that in a really long time. And I just thought, you know what? It's time. Let's get back to basics. Let's do something really simple. And then you can post on here your comments or your questions, things that you want to ask me about how to stamp some of these things. So I think it'll be really good. And if you want to see more of these types of tutorials, more basic stamping, simpler projects, put that in the comments because I want to know that. I want to know what you want to learn. Okay, so that being said, I gotta just get in here and say hi to everyone who is on. So I'm just so happy you're on with me. Let's see, Sandy from Brookings, hello, welcome. Julie from Wisconsin, okay, good. Patricia, she says it's 90 in Maryland. Wow. Okay, it's sunny and beautiful here. So let's just say that right now. It's sunny and beautiful, but it's not 90. And I don't think we're getting to 90 today. Let's see, Pat from Georgia, hello. Kathy Akers is on. Good to have Kathy on always. Patricia, hello. She says, okay, yes, Patricia, where it's 90 outside, yes. Jeanette, hello. Might be cooler today, but the sun is shining. Yes, it's a win. Kristen, hello. Happy Wednesday to you from Blaine. Good to have you on. Ellen from Rainy Netherlands. Good to have you on, Ellen. Let's see, Deborah, you guys, I'm going to need stronger glasses. I can see that right now. Screen is too far away. Or a magnifying glass, that will work too. Let's see, Deborah from New York, she says, always a great day for a watercolor tutorial. I agree. Watercolor is it's just the funnest thing to do. And the thing about it is like real watercolor real watercolor artists, like they're so skilled and this is what they do and they've done it for years and years. That's why they're so good. But watercolor stamping is for everyone. It's for everyone. It has a few little tiny rules that we're going to go over today. And you'll be successful at it. You really will. If you haven't tried it before, it's extremely forgiving, very forgiving. In fact, I made a huge mistake on mine, and I'm going to show you how I fixed it. And you guys can relate to this. I'm sure it was the very last thing I stamped on my project, the very last thing. And I thought, oh, great. But you know what? I've made this mistake before, and I'm going to show you what it is. I'm going to show you how you can fix it. Okay? So we'll get to that too. And I'm already off. And where did I lose my place? Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. Simone. Hello, Simone. Debbie Hedges. Good morning. She says, love this project. Okay. So I've got these 4 containers. I crammed them all into one project. But you can easily do them individually. Of course, they're pretty good sized. And I picked some pretty big containers so that I could really show you how to color those and pull the color out. Sometimes on the little tiny things, it's easier to do that. And when you get a bigger container, it takes a little bit more to, understand how to color it. So that's what we're doing today. It's a big project. But it's going to be fun. Okay, let's see. Joy is here. Hello, Joy and Sherry. Sherry is from Tennessee and praying for rain. Okay, you guys must need it. Christine, let's see, Christine, hello from Germany. Good to have you on. Thank you. Thanks for being on with us. Julie says, "Good morning. Hope you all are having a wonderful day." Yes, absolutely. It's a great day. It's a great day. We're starting off with watercolor, you guys, and being with friends. Like we are all a community here. And it's fun being together. And I love seeing you guys comment to each other and answering your questions. And, it's so great. Let's see. Diana, hello. Looking forward to this back to basics. Going to do my best to paint along with the queen bee. Yes, you guys. If you don't have these specific containers, just pick what you have and follow along with me. I'm going to kind of take my time with these projects, and if you can't stay for the whole thing, just hop on later and catch the replay. Or maybe if you're doing one of these projects and you want to have a quick tutorial, of course these are all archived on our Facebook and our YouTube. Let's see. Janice, hello to you. Mary from Michigan, and it is, I think she's saying 65 and some. Okay, not bad. Marianne, she says, crazy weather in Ontario. Yesterday, air conditioner needed. Today, yesterday the air conditioner, today the heat. I get it. Like I said, she says, like I said, our weather is like your teenage daughter. Next mood swing in 5 minutes. Yeah, we get that here too. Absolutely. Good morning, Barbara. Hello. And Suska. Hello. Welcome. Let's see. She's saying very windy and wet. Did she say wet? Very windy Netherlands. Okay. You need to stay inside and just be on with us. That's what you need to do. Ginger from Tennessee. Hello. Tony. Hello from Southern Oregon. She says, sunny and the grass is growing, LOL. That means it's mowing time. Ask Phil about that. Every other day he says, I gotta mow the grass. Let's see. Who else? Dominique, hello from Jacksonville. Good to have you. Sherry says, so love flower container. The thing about flower containers, you guys, is good for any occasion and good for any age. When you need to send an encouragement or, even you guys need to frame your projects. You really do. Put it in a cute little frame and make a little card that goes with it and make about 5 of them so that you can just put it in the mail to somebody. You guys, that will mean so much to someone to get something like that. They can put it on their windowsill, put it on their desk. Just put it in a little frame. You guys, just frame it and be sure to sign it. Okay, Debbie says we miss Kendra. Love the back to basics idea. Yes, I know. Kendra was so good at it. Kendra is a very technical artist, and that comes from the left brain that she has. She really has both, but her left brain has, had a lot more exercise lately. But she comes at it from a little different perspective. I am mostly right brain, and so I have a very whimsical brain, and I can see things easier. But she is much more technical. And so she likes to have clear instruction, and that's how she teaches. So those back to basics projects were really, really good. And they're all still on our website, you guys, or on our Facebook page. They're all still there. You can find them. They might be buried, but you can find them. And I believe they're on our Facebook page. Oh, well, they might be on our YouTube now too. We're moving stuff over. Oh, you know what? Probably aren't on our Facebook, but they're on our YouTube. They'll be on our YouTube, you guys. That's right. These are too old to still be on our Facebook. Anyway, that's the difference. And so there are rules. And there's a lot of comfort in that. This is the way we do it. This is the way we always do it. And some things, some of those rules can be broken and some of them can't. And, when you figure out what those are and you just learn to automatically do it, you're going to be successful. I promise you will. And then it just takes a little bit of practice. Just do it. Just do it. Even if you stamp, one little project, every other day, you're going to get really good at it. You really will. And the stamps are sort of, they're made to kind of do their thing. If you can learn to stamp them correctly and learn to add your color correctly, you're going to be successful. Let's see. Okay, Diane Mason. Hello, Diane is on. Lorraine, good morning from Phoenix. Get to catch a live again. We're so happy to have you. When we get you guys on lives, this is just the best. Julie says, loved her back to basics classes. How are the newlyweds? They're good. They're really, really good. Kendra is going to be starting her orientation, I think the middle of next month, and then she will be starting her first day of residency. Also after that, so we're just so excited for her. She's gonna absolutely love it. Let's see. Siska says, can always use a refresher. Love the idea of different containers. Yes, it is. It's good. It's good to have a refresher, you guys. Sometimes it's just, like I said, it can be a little thing that just throws you off. And, we're going to go over that stuff. Okay. Simone says, love back to basics. Marianne says, glad to have a refresher on water containers. How about one Wednesday a month? Back to basics. Great idea. That is a great idea. And you guys put that in the comments if you want to see that, because I love complicated projects and I love to challenge you, but we also have new people. And, I don't want you to be intimidated and afraid to start. And this is a great way to start. If you've not tried this before, or maybe you're just a little timid and not sure, this is a great way to start. Just a great way to start. Okay, let's see. Sherry says, I love this. So great to see you 2 days in a row. Yes. I love these Bible journaling weeks. So twice a month, what she's referring to is twice a month, first and third Tuesday of the month at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, we do Bible journaling. And it's a fun hour. So if that's something that you're interested in, check that out and join us on Tuesday mornings. Let's see. Hi from Sharon from Colorado. Hello from Portage, Indiana. Cool here, 52 degrees. Oh, wow. Rainy in Southwest Idaho, Ohio. Teresa, you guys with bad weather, just stay inside with us. April, hello from Texas. Today's project looks fun. I hope it is, you guys. I think it will be. Brenda, hello from Minnesota. She says, my salad and cold water bottle are ready. Brenda, good to have you on with us. Let's see, who else? Renee, hello, good to have you. This is so great, you guys. Thanks for hopping on and saying hi. Northern Minnesota. Okay, Jane, 60s in northern Minnesota. Gorgeous day, she's saying, so it must be sunny. Let's see, Barbara from Piney Woods of East Texas. Good to have you. Pat, hello. She says, love the basics. Learn something new every time. I know, I do too. And I learn, sometimes I just learn a simpler way of explaining things, and I always try to make it simple because I know there are so many people who just, would say they're not artists. And, we break it down so it's simple. It would be like somebody trying to teach me math. Like I just couldn't get it. And math was always my worst subject. In fact, I have PTSD from math class, even, 50 years ago. So it's the same. It's just that it has to be broken down and taught a little bit different, but everyone can do it. Absolutely everyone. Okay, let's see. A few more here. I got to say hi to a few more. Irene from Vancouver Island. She says, yes, love to have some basic videos. Yes, great. And what we'll do is we will tag these, or we'll put in the description that these are back to basics videos. So you can reference them if you want to go back and watch. Let's see. Hi from Illinois. Love that you're doing this tutorial. Great. Love this feedback, you guys. Jeannie, hot Florida's Space Coast. Oh, my word, 91 degrees. Okay, maybe, you know what? If it's 91 outside, maybe it's good for you to stay inside too, or it's air conditioned. Kren, she says, love Watercolor Wednesday. It's my favorite day. Me too, Kren. Happy day. Let's see. Happy day here in North Carolina. Benita from Sweden. Good to have you. Thanks so much for being on with us. Catherine, hello from Ontario. Veronica from Belgium. Good to have you. Let's see. Peggy is here. Let's see. Elaine is on. Carol. Barbara. She says, Cloudy in Washington. Linda from Puyallup. Mary, she says, I'm queen. Deborah, she says, been crazy weather here in upstate New York. One day we are being warned about freezing, and yesterday it broke heat records. You and Marianne, both of you. Oh my word, that's just crazy. Let's see, Laura from Pasadena, Mary in Northern Michigan, Sandy, hello to you. Ruth Ann, hello, welcome. She says, your smile brightens our day. Your fluttering wings with new tips. Thanks, Ruth Ann. Oh, you guys are the best. Says, I will. She says, she'll be glued to the screen. Okay, excellent. Debbie says, love the left brain explanation. It's why you say I am very literal. It's true, you guys. It's true. And, if somebody told you, and this is why there are so many people who, do these projects that are nurses and administrators and teachers. They're more left brain, and they want an outlet. They want something to do that's creative and fun. And this is that. It is. It's really creative and fun. And then you realize, you know what? I actually am an artist, and I actually can make these beautiful paintings. And then it just becomes more and more fun because the stress is removed from it. There are definite rules, and it would be like me, somebody putting a math paper down in front of me and I have to take a test. Like I just would have the deer in the headlights and not know where to start. And so if you are more of a literal thinker, it feels like that. It feels like that. Somebody gives you a white sheet of watercolor paper, and where in the world do I start? I don't know where to start. So that's what we're doing. We're starting at the beginning. We're going to go through all these projects, and hopefully it's a refresher for some of you too. Okay, let's see. Back to Basics Monthly with some of the older ones. Yes. Thank you for all these comments, you guys. This is great. Hi from New York. Hello to you. Okay, you guys, let's get to our project. I think I've got everyone here. I think I've said hi to most people. All right, you guys, let me switch over and let's get to our project right now. And look at what we're going to be using here. So don't be intimidated by the amount of, stamp sets that I'm using. I just pulled things from different sets for a reason, mostly because of the size of the containers, and then to try to add different types of florals in here so that you could see how to stamp those. And, especially the different types of containers. So you don't have to use these specific things. And the thing about a big container like this is there are so many flowers and foliage sets available now in our line of watercolor that you can use. If you've started doing this project, you can probably use what you have and put these things together. So we're gonna start at the beginning, and we're just gonna go through all of it. So let me first tell you specifically what we're going to be doing here. And you can see all of these containers. So I'm going to just zoom in a little bit. So this is, the starting point is always the container, and then the flowers are added later. And there are different ways of starting, although, stamping and inking these things is pretty much the same with the two colors. And the reason we do that is so that they look like a realistic thing. It looks like an object. And so we start with this mix of color that gives us sort of that grayish kind of brown tone that looks like the earth. Looks like, dirt and grass, or not grass, but dirt, tree bark, actual things, so that it doesn't look like a photograph of something, or a stamped image of something. So we're going to go through a metal container like this bucket. We're going to go through a glass container. And I've done tutorials on these, but not for a while. And a glass container, you guys, is the simplest thing to do. It's the simplest things. There are a couple of things you want to remember, but we're going to go through that. And then, something like a terracotta pot, something that's, more solid, a simple, container like this. We're going to do that. and then a basket of some sort, which is just a little bit different. These are all different, but they're all stamped first in that same combination of colors. So I'm going to go over that with you and show you exactly how to do that. And then we're going to add all of these florals and everything to these containers. So that's why I have so many sets here. So let me just go through these and show you specifically what I'm using. And like I said, most of the reason that I'm doing it is because of the size of the container. You can see these are all pretty large containers. And the rules still apply to the same ones too, but I can show you easier on a larger container like these here. And it's also a good idea to sort of mix things up. You can kind of do it two ways. So there's it's very I should say pleasing to the eye to mix things up. In other words, different textures. So metal, glass, pottery, and a basket. These are all different textures. It's pleasing to do that. Different heights. So you can see these are all different heights. See, we've got one tall one, we've got a shorter one that's kind of in the middle here, and then this one is even smaller. And so grouping things according to size is also a good idea. Okay, but then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is maybe all 4 terracotta pots. You could do it that way because this is a very simple container. Or you could do all glass containers. And maybe you have different sizes of these as well. Maybe you have a narrow one, maybe you have a short one, maybe you have a round one, and then you've got a tall one in here. So think about that too if you're going to do a combination of things like this. Or just do one. Just do one. So cute. Just stamp one. A little container like this with some flowers in it would be just such a great little card to send to someone. Or, like I said, a frame also. So here are the containers that I use. This one is from the Get Vintage Car Set. This is the bucket. I like it because of the size. And I like the way that the handle hangs here so that we can put the shadow in, which is something that is really, really important when you're doing something like this with the metal. So we're going to use that one. This one came out last summer, and I made them. You can see the lines are very simple. So you can see this one has a few more like broken lines in it here. That's to kind of hold color because this isn't going to be see-through. And when I made this set, I had that in mind that these were going to be glass. You'd be able to use these as a glass container and see-through. So that's why they have very simple lines. Now you can also use them this way. So you can follow the same rules as you would for something like this pot right here. So something that's, more terracotta, a solid container, okay? But this is the one that I'm using, and we're gonna make it see-through and glass. But how cute would all of these be? This would be a really good combination to sit next to each other, to kind of group together, because you've got a wider one, a taller one, narrow, round, and then this little shorter one. This would be a really cute combination to just stamp in a row. Okay, and this one, so these two sets, and these came out not too long ago, but I love these containers in here, and these are all interchangeable. So here's the basket right here, and here is the little terracotta pot that we're going to be using, and these just work great together. So either one of these, any terracotta pot, any pot you have is going to work. So it doesn't have to be, these exact ones or any little basket that you have. I just picked these because I want to show you the different ways to color these. Okay, so those two. And then I picked these flowers here, and I want to show you two different ways. So let me just zoom in here. So this one is an open stamp. Here, so this is open. This is the one that we're using, and we're just using part of it. We're using part of it, so I want to show you that too. These need to be inked in 2 colors. So you want to use a stamp platform. You want to put your stamp on there and position it over your container like this. And then you want to, and these are clear, by the way, so they're easy to position. And you want to stamp these in 2 colors. And what I do is I always do the blooms first. I just ink them in the color, and when we get to that, I'll tell you what colors we're using. And then ink the stems after that. And it just works so great. So when it's a larger open bloom like this, you want to ink it in 2 colors. Now these are closed, so these are solid. These little flowers are all solid. So you're just going to ink those and then stamp them. These are rubber, So anything that's meant to stamp more than one time is going to be rubber, because we need to keep that ink on the stamp. So if you are ever wondering why some things are clear and some things are rubber, most of the time, if they are to be stamped in a repeat, so a repeat means you're going to stamp it more than one time, then they're rubber, because the rubber will hold the color much longer than the clear does. But the clear stamps generally are only stamped one time, just one time. Okay, so you can also with these florals, you can also use the ink pad if you are using the entire stamp. So in this case, I'm only using part of it. And I wanted to show you that too, because we're using markers. We can just ink the section that we're going to be using. And you can see it's just this little part right here is what we're going to be using. And we're stamping that in here. And I wanted to kind of show you in this glass container that you can add just a couple of little blooms in here and just kind of lean them over to the side. So you're not going to want to stamp that straight in here. You're going to kind of want to lean it over to the side, like it's kind of leaning into the pot here. So I only picked a few of these, and I wanted to show you that when you're using a marker, you can just ink, specific parts of your stamp. Okay, these would all be stamped the same way. So whatever color you want your blooms to be, you're going to ink that first, stamp it with your stamp positioner, stamp platform, and then you're going to ink the greenery, the leaves, and then you're going to stamp that. So in two impressions. Okay. Mary says, I just learned something new. Great. Okay, you guys, see you next week. Just kidding. Good. Oh, I'm so glad, you guys. This is good. This is really good. And so many times I forget to tell you things that are, kind of basic, and I think you know. And so this is going to be a good reminder for myself as well to not forget to explain things to you. So that's the difference between the blooms. These are generally rubber. Because they're made to stamp over and over. These are generally clear because they're made to stamp one time, just one time, one impression. And they're open. The flowers are open. They're a line art, not a solid color, not a solid stamp. Okay, like these. These are solid. Okay, so those are the containers, and that's what I pre-stamped that. So here's what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And I just pre-stamped it just to make things go a little quicker. And then let me show you the foliages I'm using and the flowers. And you guys, again, this is something that you can use the things that you have. If you've got flowers and some foliages, you can do this project with what you have. Okay, so we're going to use the vine. And I believe the large vine, I think that's all we're using from this set, just a large vine. And the reason I'm using these specific things too is to kind of mix up the color or the foliages so they don't all look the same. So just kind of mix up the texture. Again, put in something tall, something short. And if you already know how to arrange flowers, it's going to be a win for you. You already know how to do that. So shorter things in the front, tall things in the back. Okay. So this is what so I've got a vine, a large vine, and I think I used this grass too, actually, just in a pot. I think I used that grass. In the flower set, the little daisies, this one right here. This is just a win every time. It's a filler. It'll just fill up your container, and then you can add your accents. So what I mean by a filler is something like this. This will kind of fill up your pot with color. You can see in here, I've got two. I've stamped the red and the blue in here. And then all of your other things, are sort of accents. There's sort of accents in there. You can kind of stamp over, and you can see that I've stamped over this little, pop of color. And it looks like the stems are kind of going down inside of the container. It just automatically does it. It'll just do its thing. So we're going to use this. This is a must-have. It really is. It's used for so many things. And this one, okay, so this is foliage set 2. I love this set, and I don't use it enough times. But we're going to use this one. So here it is, right here. Just a little bit of a different texture is what we're going to use. You can because it has a bend to it, you can swing it down or you can swing it up, in your container, just the way that you are stamping it. Okay, so this one right here. And then in the flower set, so I was looking for a closed image. So a solid floral so that I could show you. And I picked these two, but you could use any of these. See, this is an open. This is an open one. So this one really should be stamped with two colors. So in other words, you want to color this first, and then you want to color the green after that. And you need to use some sort of stamp positioner or platform because you have to line it up. You've got to line it up and make sure that you are stamping on your the same image here. So you don't want your leaves to be off center. So you want to use something that's going to be exact, but you're going to color these a color red. Maybe you want them purple. You're going to color the blooms, stamp those two, and then you're going to color the leaves right here. So that's the difference. So we're going to use both. We're going to use both. In here, we're going to use the small foliage, and then we're going to use this one just to kind of mix it up and change the texture. So that's something to remember too, is so that you're not using everything the same. And then mix up your greens too. In this case, I think I just used all the same green, but you can mix up your greens. There are two really good greens. There's also another warm green, like olive green, like an olive green. You could use that too. Okay, let's see. Does anybody have any questions here? Mary says, I don't ever remember hearing you explain the difference as to why clear or rubber. Okay, I'm glad I said that, you guys. That's why. That is basic. That's the general rule. And sometimes, we don't do it that way. All the throwbacks are rubber, and they are basic images. So, for the most part, all of the basic images are going to be clear because it's easy to position. And the product that we have, the clear stamps we have, are made in the US, and they are just great quality. We rarely have an issue with any stamp set that we send. So we're just really happy. They're made in Ohio, by a company that is just absolutely does fabulous work. So, for me, the clear is it's a win because of the ability to line it up and be able to see through it. And, having a stamp platform where you can just, put that stamp on there and stamp it over and over and line things up, especially if you're using parts of your stamp, not the whole thing. It's so much easier to do it that way. All right, so and one of these, either one of these, or either one of these. So these two. And then the little branch, which just kind of adds a little bit of texture in here. And here's where I made my goof, is in this area. Here's what I did. I stamped that flower. I inked the flower in the same green as the stem. And so it got really tall up in here, and so I had to add some branches. I managed to hide it, so I'll just show you guys what I did when we get to that point. Let's see. On set 5475, which two flowers did you use? She missed it. Okay, Carrie Lynn, let's see. On set 5475, let me see which one that is. 5475. Okay, so this one, and there's one that swings to the left or the right, and it looks like I probably used both. So they swing to the right or to the left. So either one of these two are going to work. And these also, one swings to the right, one swings to the left. So whichever one you're comfortable using is going to work. And that's these flowers right here and these blue ones. Okay, let's see. Okay, Rain says, okay, she says, I'm late, but this looks like a fun painting. It's going, yeah, so basically what we're doing is back to basics. We're going through the basics of how to stamp and color different types of containers and some of the rules of stamping that I just want to go over and make sure you understand some of these things that we're doing. Okay, so the branches and this one. So that's what I'm using, you guys. And like I said, you can use whatever you want and mix it up. So you can see on here, I mixed up. I've got some of these that are open flowers, and I've got some of these that are solid like this. And these, again, are made to stamp in a repeat. So 1, 2, or 3, you can get 3 impressions out of them because they're rubber. With clear, you can, generally speaking, if you want it to be dark, 1 impression. That's why we don't stamp off things that are clear. When it comes to flowers like this, you don't need to stamp that off. You just ink it and stamp it onto your canvas. Okay? All right, so let's get going here. We're going to start with the metal bucket. And how we start the majority of the time, and normally with any container that is this size, I'm going to defer to this always. The 565 and the 969. These are the two colors that we're going to use when we are inking the stamp. And that would be on the containers. So we want them to look like real things, like actual containers, including the glass one. Okay, so 565 first, and then 969. And when you've got your stamp, obviously not a vine, but a container, you're going to take your blue and you're going to ink the whole thing with the blue. And then right over the top, don't stamp it off, right over the top, you're going to take the 969 and you're going to ink that right over the top. And then you're going to stamp, if it's rubber, you're going to stamp it off 2 times. And if you really want to add a lot of color to it, 3 times, and then onto your canvas. And that's what I did with these. These are stamped 3 times. Well, these are clear, so just this one and this one. These are stamped 3 times and then onto the canvas. So it makes a difference if it's rubber or clear. So these are older, these are rubber. This one's, wait, is this one clear? Oh, you know what? This is rubber because when we ordered these, they were meant to be clear and they came to us in rubber. That's why this one's rubber, but I believe they're clear now. So we had that corrected, but that's why I have a rubber one. Like, wait a second here. Yeah, so Kathy, yes, you don't need to stamp things off that are clear unless it's something, if it's something like a large container, like something like this one. And this is from a clear set. So let me just show you that again. This is from a clear set. So these are clear in here, and you can see these open flowers. Same, you're going to color these with the marker first, and then you're going to go back and do the foliage in the green. You're going to want to stamp it off at least 1 time. When it comes to the flowers, you don't need to stamp it off. So when it comes to the blooms and you stamp that on here, you don't need to stamp it off. Only when it comes to things like this, and you want to stamp it off at least 1 time. 1 time. Depending on how much color you want onto your image. If you're using a lot of light colors, stamp it off twice. Stamp it off twice so you don't get too much color on there. Okay, did I just confuse everyone? Okay, yes, Kathy. So containers, you want to stamp them off at least once. Flowers, you don't need to stamp off. Flowers and foliage, you don't need to stamp off. Just color it and stamp it onto your canvas. Okay? All right, so let's start out with the bucket. So we've stamped it 2 times, we've stamped it off 3 times, and now we've got it onto our canvas like this. So we're going to dip our brush in water first. This is always the first step. First step is dip your brush in water, get all the bubbles out of it. Get all the bubbles out of it like this. Tap it off, get the majority of the water, and then you want to just grab it where the metal is and just pull your thumb across it and get the majority of the water off till your brush is flat. So you can see that. See how flat that is? Till your brush is flat. And then when you dip your brush next time, and my water is always off the screen, but when I dip my brush, it's only the very tip. You're never going to put your whole brush back in the water. Never. You're never going to do that, and it's never going to get to the metal. And when you add water to your container, never add more than a 1/2 inch. Just a 1/2 inch. So you're not tempted to immerse your whole brush into the water. So pinch it off, grab it from above the metal, and just pull it down like this until your brush is flat. Okay? And then remember, when you dip, just the tip. Just the tip, and I mean just the very tip. Just the very tip. So you guys see that? Where the color is, pretty much. So like this. And then we're going to pull the color out of the lines. This is the first step. And when things are rounded like this or contour, the highlight is going to be in the middle. Let me just show you this really quick because, and where did I put my pencil? I've got one. Okay, think about it like this. This is the rule, you guys. This is probably the most important rule. When you have a cylinder like this, a contour, so you have a container like this, and it's shaped like this. It's rounded. It's rounded. The highlight is here. in the center. This is, in other words, this is the lightest part of your container when you're adding color, the lightest part. This then is the darkest part. And this is what makes it look round, is because you've got your lightest area here and you have your darkest areas here on the side. Okay, that's the rule, and it never changes. And when you get to where you have got your confidence and maybe you want the light coming from a different direction, you can have your highlight over here or you can do whatever. But when you're starting, and as a rule, the highlight is in the center of the contour. Now when it's flat, if it's a flat box like this, you don't have to worry about that. There's not really a highlighted area other than this is darker here. This is darker on the side. Okay, and probably this up here too is a little bit darker. And that's what makes this look three-dimensional. So now if it's a dome, so a dome would be something like this. You know, like think about the top of a, what would that be? The top of something. The top of a handle, maybe. You know, maybe you've got a, you know, something that is rounded on the top that has a contour. Then the highlight is here. It's here. And then if you're looking straight at it, you might have a bit of a highlight here as well. So that just means this and this are the darkest areas. These are the darkest areas where the color is. And this highlight is at the top. Okay? And when you have a straight, maybe you have a square like this, you know, maybe you're doing a roof, here's the highlight up here. This is just in other words, you just don't color clear to the edge. Just don't color clear to the edge when it comes to something like this. You know, you're adding color to it. You're going to leave this lighter. Just don't bring your color all the way over. Okay? This is just the simple rule, you guys. It's so easy and so simple, but remind yourself when you're doing something like this. If it's a contour, here's the highlight. If it's a dome, here's the highlight. If it's a square, you know, you don't have to worry about a highlight here at all. And only if you can see the side, then you're going to put a shadow here, and this is going to be lighter. Okay? Okay, Barbara says, I've been doing this for 8 years and I'm learning new things. Great. Awesome. Okay, you guys, this is so great. Okay, Carrie Lynn, did you draw a line to stamp the containers or use the stamp positioner? Okay, so I just kind of, you know, I used a stamp positioner for the rubber. For sure, because you can't see through it to see exactly how to line it up. So I used a stamp positioner for these two, and then with the clear, I could just put it on my stamp platform, and I could see where these two containers were, and I could just lay this down and see through it. And then I could easily line these two up because these two are clear. And this is clear now. If you don't have this set and you order it, it's going to be clear, this little glass container. Okay, you know, you guys, if you have questions, I will try to be better at looking it up here. Let's see, switch to YouTube, come back later. Okay. All right, you guys, love doing back to basics, such a help. Okay, great. I'm so glad, you guys. All right, so that's a big thing. So just remember this rule, you guys. Just remember this rule. This is the most important thing out of everything on here, is where the highlight is. Because if you don't include the highlight, you know, here. So let's just say we have a container, we have a contour like this, okay? And it's colored in solid. Anything colored in solid, line to line, the same, is going to be flat. It's going to be flat. This is what makes it a contour. Here is the light part in the center. This part, and then darker on the sides. This is what makes the difference. Here is this highlight. Let's just erase that whole thing so that you can really see what I'm talking about. And now it's rounded. So that's the most important thing to remember when we're doing that. And all of these are contours. So they're all rounded. And so therefore, the highlight is going to be in the middle of them. All right? Okay, so let's start with this. Let's start with the bucket, and it's metal. So we're going to just start by dragging the color out, and we're dragging the color out from where it's the darkest. And that would be on the sides. Here's the other rule. Never cross a line with your brush. Never. So in other words, don't drag your brush over these lines here. Everything is done in sections. So we're pulling this color out in sections, and you can see what happens here with the line when you drag this color out. Now here's the next thing to remember. When you are, let's see if I can just do this again really quick here. When you are, when you've got a, when you've got a contour like this, okay, so a bucket, you know, or a pot, and you've got some lines across here like this, and some lines for texture. If you pull the color from the top or the bottom, it makes a huge difference. A huge, enormous difference. It makes a huge difference the way that you pull the color out of the lines, okay? And this is where I see a lot of mistakes, is that you want to color on the line, and we never ever do that. We never color on the line. We never follow the line. You'll just get an outline of a pot. Here's what we want to do. We want to go under. We want to go under the line, or we want to go above the line. Okay, so if we go above, it's bringing the section below forward. So you can see what's happened here is we've got this little section that's coming forward. This little part here. If we put this here, if we put this color here and above this line, you see how this section comes forward? This section comes forward like this. So the bottom, basically what it is the bottom of the line is the shadow. And what's above the line is going to come forward. So I hope I didn't just confuse you guys, but it's hugely important to do it that way. And you can see on here, let's just zoom in. You can see on this bucket how this little section right here comes forward. You see that? If I had colored inside here, now it would be recessed back in, okay? Because that's where the shadow is. So when the shadow is under here, it's bringing this section that's right above it. So let's look at this here. So this is a little ridge on this bucket. It's just a little ridge, and we want it to come forward, okay? It doesn't go back into the bucket. It comes forward because it's a ridge. So this is going to be darkened underneath. Underneath. Do you see how that brings that ridge forward? Same down here. Same down here. So now we're going above it, and that's bringing that ridge forward. Okay? And we can just kind of darken this little handle here because it's pretty narrow. Again, okay, do you see this little section here on this little handle? This is a dome. This is a dome. So what does that mean? It means there's a little highlight at the very top. Just a little highlight at the top. Okay? And this is kind of always the starting point. So let's just say this down here. Maybe we want this to come forward as well. So let's just put this color underneath. And do you see how that just raises it? This is how your work becomes three-dimensional. From flat, like these, to three-dimensional is the way that you pull the color out of the lines. It's just hugely important to do it this way. And then you already have just a great start, and you can just see how this bucket is kind of laid out. So we've got a little ridge here, we've got a little ridge here, and it's sort of decorative. You can also add another ridge or two to it if you want to do that. So, okay, so now let's add some more color to the sides. So I did it in a two-tone so that I could show you how to add the color here to the bottom. But also, if the top part stays white, it's going to have a shadow. Because remember what I told you about the contour. So the contour is going to be darker on the sides, and that includes white. Anything that is left white or uncolored. Even a bucket that's probably more gray. So we're going to take some of this color, a tiny little bit, just dip your brush, just the tip, pinch it off. Always dip and pinch it off. Always. And we're going to take some of this and we're going to place that color right on the edges. And again, in each section, don't drag your brush over any line. Don't do that. So each section at a time, we're going to just lay this color on, and now we're going to pinch the brush off, and we're going to drag the color to the center. And it's going to get lighter and lighter. We're just going to drag it over to the center. And we're going to have that lighter area just right here in the middle. And then we're going to go darker again. then we're going to just drag it over to the center. And you can make this as dark as you want it. You could add a little gray to it as well if you want to. Make this bucket whatever color. But you always want to have the side be darker than the center. The side always has to be darker than the center, and then just drag it over. Okay, so actually we've got more of a blue bucket here. But that's okay. This is what it would look like with the white. This was what it would look like with more of a blue bucket. And now let's put the red on. So let's put the second color on. And this was this was 565. And this is, doesn't matter what red, doesn't matter what color you put on the bucket either. This is 856. Okay, same. So now we're going to add color. We're going to do it the exact same way. Same exact way. We're going to apply the color to the side, like this, to the sides where it's the darkest. And then we're going to pinch the brush off, and then we're going to drag it to the center. And you can see that will kind of feather your color out and blend it out, because you don't want a big square where the highlight is. You want it to just kind of feather into the center. Okay, and then we're going to do it again. We're going to add more color in like this, and as dark as you want it to be. You can just keep going and add more color like this, and just pinch your brush off and then drag it to the center. And as long as the center is lighter than the outside, you're good to go. Oh, it looks like a 4th of July bucket, doesn't it? I think we got just a little bit more red up here. So we've definitely got our highlight in the middle. And with red, you know, it takes a couple of coats to really get it dark on here. And just drag it over. Kind of exceeded my boundaries here, so let's just go a little bit above, okay? All right, so let's go back here again. Let's just really darken this and make sure that the sides are really dark. And then just clean your brush off. And maybe we want to add, you know, something else decorative in here. If you want to add another little area of color, you can do that. Just brush it on, just like this, and kind of follow that contour of the bucket. You know, where the lines are. You can see this, you know, kind of curved line here. I'm going to kind of follow that curved line so it doesn't look square. Okay, so let's do the handle. Let's get some color on the handle. And we'll just get a little brown here. This is a 947. So let's move over here so you can see what I'm doing. So we'll take some of this brown and we're just going to brush it on here. And we just want to be careful. Just leave that little highlight on here. And then we can just add color to the handle. And we can add just a little bit of color in here too. We're going to come in with the twin tone and we'll get the details back in to here. Okay, let's just do that so we can just finish up this bucket. So we're going to take the twin tone. This is a brown twin tone with a fine tip. And we're just going to open up this area here where the handle comes into this little handle right here. And I'm just going to darken it a little bit in here, you know, kind of as it comes down. And then also in here, there's just a little opening in this section here where the handle is. And maybe it's got, you know, a few little details on there as well. Okay. Okay. So now let's see, what do we need to do with that? Oh, we need to put the shadow in. So with a bucket and a handle hanging down, you want to grab some of this dark blue, this 565 dark blue, and you want to just do a line next to the handle. just come down just like this. And then you can see how that just lifts that handle up away from the bucket. Okay, I'm just darkening this a little bit more because I kind of really like this blue and red bucket. We've got that really bright. Okay, so let's go. Let's keep going, you guys. We're going to come back with the white paint and we'll add something decorative on here. Let's see, am I missing any questions? Gail says, really enjoy watching you paint and teach. Always learn so much every time I watch. You're so talented. Love your classes. Thank you, Gail. That's so kind. Thank you. Joining in late. Oops, I'll be sure to watch the replay. Okay, Lori, we're thrilled to have you. Okay, love, Benita, love watercoloring in bold colors. Have a hard time with the pale colors. You know what? You'll see your style come out. So when you start doing this, you will be drawn more to these dark, vivid colors, or, more to the pastel, subdued colors. It's your personality will come out. It really does. And everyone kind of has a style. So you'll see your style come out. And I love the bold colors too. I am just so back and forth on that. Sometimes I just love that, more subdued look. But let's see. I don't know how to pull out what I need, what I want. Hope that makes sense. Yes, you guys, share your ideas on how you store. Okay, Janice says, when did AI start? Okay, you guys, next year will be my 40th year since Art Impression started back in 1987. Yeah, so I've been doing this a long time. And the watercolor has been around for many years, many, many years. I couldn't even tell you how many. At least 25 years or more. But it has really changed, over the years too, from looking at some of these, older things that I've done and pulling out some, folders that have watercolor in it, and just, wow, has it ever changed? Okay, Benita, she says, I'm bold all the way, LOL. Yes, 40 years, you guys. I'm so just grateful to still be part of this just amazing community. Okay, let's move on to the glass container. Okay, so you want to, when you've been doing red, you want to really clean out your brush, because the red wants to just stay on your stamp and stay on your brush. So just keep cleaning out your brush. And absolutely, yes, I'm going to give this away. So you guys, be sure to put in the comments if you want to win this painting. All right, so you can see the difference here. This is pretty much left white, and you can see where the shadows are in here. It's just that it's a smaller area, but it's still darker on the sides than it is in the center. This is really a blue and red bucket. So I've got way more blue on here, but I kind of like this two-tone color. So it's going to be up to you what you want to do. Okay, with a glass container, here is an important rule with a glass container if it has a lip. So you can see on here I've got a tiny little piece of Post-it tape, and that's just this Post-it tape. Just cut, tear a little piece off and cut a little narrow strip, because you want to protect this part of the container. So you don't want to stamp all the way over this part. You need to have some sort of rim right here, so you're not stamping over it. Even if it's a container that doesn't really have this specific rim here, you still want to leave a little bit of space in there. Okay, so that is hugely important to leave that here. You want to, of course, get your little project in here, leave that space, and the rest of it can show through. So you're going to do your flowers first, ink those, and by the way, those are inked in this beautiful color, 837, which is just a really pretty dusty rose color. That's what it should be called, dusty rose. But it's such a beautiful color, 837. I inked the flowers, and I only used a few. So let me just show you that again if you're just popping on. So here is the actual set. And where is the actual set of those? In here. Okay, so here is the actual set of those flowers right here. And this is what I used. So just this section here, just this section here. And when you're stamping on a clear surface, you can, sometimes it all kind of, blends together. So let's just pull this off and I'll show you what I mean. So it can be really hard to see where the flowers are and where the leaves are, when you're going to ink it, especially if you're kind of laying it on a surface like this, you can't really see. So most of the time, and this is a new stamp. So, but what I do is I stain it. I stain it with a red or a pink first. And then I can see clearly where everything is. So when I ink this, I just inked this little section right here. Just this little section. And then stamped it. So you can ink just, one part, or you can ink the whole thing. Put the whole thing in here. Okay, so 2 colors. And the green is just the 177. So this is the green. Okay, so now we're going to, let's just pull the color out of the lines for these. And we're going to start with these little flowers. And flowers are all the same. They're going to be darker where the petals connect. So in other words, right here to the center. The center is going to be the darkest part of the flower. And if you see, okay, I don't know if you guys can see on here, but if you see the water pooling at all on here, you have too much water. You just want to keep pinching your brush off. And I had a little too much water here, so I want to just let that kind of dry. But you don't want to see any of that, especially on these tiny little sections. And you can see I'm still going one section at a time. I'm not crossing any lines. And darker in the center, as you're going around, darker in the center, that means the outside, this is the lighter part. So basically what it's doing is turning the petals to the inside so that they look three-dimensional. So darker here, this is where they're turned in, and then lighter, this is what's catching the light out here. And you're gonna get that three-dimensional. You get that three-dimensional look. So again, you don't want to color it in solid. No. Don't want to do that. I'm pulling a little bit of color from the edges, but you can see how white this is on the outside. Okay, so now we're going to take a little more of that color and we're going to just put it on here. So let's move this over. I like this zoomed in so you can really see what I'm doing here. We're going to take some of this color, and this is the 837. And we're going to add, and you can see this, dries really quick. So when it's dry, we can add a little more color to it. And again, we're going to apply the color where it's the darkest. So where's it the darkest? Right where it connects. So right here. This is where we're going to add it. And this applies to all flowers. It's always going to be darkest where it connects to the center. And then pinch your brush off and just kind of blend it out a little bit. Just blend it out towards the edge. Okay, same over here. And just take a little bit of the color. Take your time with these things. Just take your time. And this one's got a little, this little petal is kind of turned up a little bit. So it's going to be kind of darker on the bottom. And by the way, I'm using a number 4 brush. This is just a great one to start with. You can do the majority of your projects, and then, once you love it, then go to a number 1 or a number 0, either. Okay, so you can see I'm just continuing to add this darker color where this flower connects. And then just kind of soften it up a little bit and drag it out. And the more the more color you add, the darker the flower is going to be. And as long as it's darkest at the center, you're good. You're good to go. Okay, let's go down and let's just do the leaves really quickly while this is all drying. And just stop right here at the edge of the lip. Just stop right there. And then start your color again to the inside. And you can kind of drag this color down a little bit too. And let's just add a little bit of green on here. This is 177. So if you want to, kind of darken these stems and make them go just a little bit longer, depending on what, your container, what size your container is, you can do that. And then just make a little line across the bottom. And you can, again, make these, you see how light these flowers are? Do you see how light they are? That's just one pass, one or two passes. So you could change it up. You see how dark these are now? You can, whatever is, whichever style that you like. And again, you're gonna start migrating to your own style. You're just gonna start picking things that you just really love. And, you'll go bright or you'll go light. Okay, so got our little flowers in here. Let's do something dark in the center. Maybe we'll just take a bright orange, and we'll just use the bullet tip. But you can use whatever color that you want in the center. Okay, see how cute that is. And you could even just take a twin tone like this, and you could add, this is just a red, you could add a few more little lines in here. Just follow that, just follow the contour of that leaf. Okay, and that's it. That's all we have to do. So now let's go to the container. So the two things that you want to do is you want to add your water line and you want to add the bottom, because you're going to be able to see that. This is so one-dimensional right now. We can't see through the bottle at all, through the container at all. So we want to get those two things in. So let's turn this and add some more color here. So we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit. Because we've got the green in there, we want to kind of show a little bit of green in the water. And that would be a warmer blue like this. So 526. And then our regular blue, which is our 565. Okay, so we've got these two blues. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to put the color in that is on the basic color of the glass. And here's what you want to remember. This is the big rule, okay? You need to leave a space between the color and the edge of the glass. This is what makes it look like a glass, is that there's a little space here. If you put the color clear to the edge, you're not going to get that same effect. So you can see here, there's just a little edge of white, see, along the jar. That is so important, you guys. It's so important not to color clear to the edge if you want a glass container, to give the impression that this is glass. See, along here. And under here, it's okay. You can put a shadow under here. Here's where it really matters, is along the side. Okay, that's the number one rule when you're doing a glass container. Okay, is don't bring the color clear to the edge. Don't do it. Okay, and we're going to start out with just a light blue. And we'll just kind of come along here, along the edge. And remember, don't want to go clear to the edge. So you want to leave that white space. And then let's do another, over here. Make sure you're leaving that area. That edge of the glass, okay? And the same with the bottom. Same with the bottom. We don't want to bring that color all the way down, okay? Now we want a shadow underneath this lip, because that's going to bring that lip forward, right? So you can see now that lip is overhanging. Robin says, I can't believe these lessons are free. Feel so blessed. You guys, I want to see you all be artists. I really do. Okay, Elizabeth says, why, when I use the two colors, 565 and 969 second, I always get brown color instead of a blue? What am I doing wrong? It's so frustrating when I want a more white colored item. Okay, here's what to do then. The reason I say to do the blue first is because it will wreck your blue pen. So in other words, if you put the brown on first and then the blue over the top, you're going to get all that brown onto your blue. If you do the opposite and you do the blue first, you're going to get blue on your brown, but that's a win. That makes this pen better. It makes it a little grayer and not quite so brown. So it's a win to get blue onto your brown pen. But this way, it's not. This will gray out your blue and it just will kind of wreck your pen. So there are a couple things that you can do, okay? You can stamp off the brown. So you can ink the brown first and stamp it off and then add the blue to it. Or you can have a designated blue pen for inking your containers. So you can just put when I was doing it this way, I had a little piece of a washi tape and I put it on my pen. So I know this is the pen that I use to ink, my stamps, because it's going to get gray. And then you want to every now and then clean it off. So what I mean by clean it off is just take it, on your palette and just clean it off. See how blue this is? It's just a beautiful color and you really don't want to muddy it. You really don't. You want this beautiful kind of cool blue. It works great for everything. It works great for shadows and, things that are white. It's an absolute must-have color. So you don't want it to get muddied. And if it gets brown on it, it's going to. So if you're doing things that are more white, maybe it's better to have a designated blue pen, and then you can do your brown first and your blue over the top. Or you can ink it brown with your brown first and then stamp it off one time and then ink the blue. You won't get as much brown on it. Okay? And then stamp it off again. Okay? Okay? All right, so let's keep going. Good question. That's a really good question. Okay, let's see. Does anybody else have any questions? The flowers look so real. They do. They will. They will real. And the reason that we do it this way is because it's so important to have things look three-dimensional. Otherwise, they're flat. And especially a stamp. Like, look how flat this is. This is flat. And this is why it's frustrating to color these things, is because when you stamp this and just try to color it, what do? We color everything in line to line. We color it all in. And then you know what happens? It looks like a coloring book. And it doesn't have any depth to it. And it does not look like a three-dimensional flower at all. Okay, so again, if you want this dark depth of color, just keep adding color to it, but still continue to leave the edges light, and it brings your eye down to the center of the flower and pulls the petals up. And you can do it really soft and simple like this. This is just a beautiful watercolor look that's very simple. So if you're that kind of subtle, love this light colors, then do it this way. And if you like those dark, bold colors, then do it this way. Okay, newbie here, what are you doing as your workspace to your right? Okay, so all I have is a palette. So let me zoom out just a little bit. So I have a palette like this, and I have marker. So these are just Tombow markers. This is what we have on our website. These are Tombow markers. They're water-based markers that have a brush tip like this, and they have a bullet tip like this. And we are inking the back of a stamp and stamping it. And the only other thing I have is water. Just like this, just plain water. So when I'm dipping my brush, I'm just dipping it in the water and then blending the color. Okay? Okay, Elizabeth says, I'll give both ways a try. Yes, try it that way, Elizabeth, for sure. Or keep that designated pen. That's what I did for a long time. And then I thought it was getting to be such an issue with people to get blue, get brown onto their blue pen. I just made it standard to just do the blue first and then the brown. It doesn't make that much of a difference unless you're wanting to do things that are more white. Yep. Okay, so let's keep going with the glass. So we've got our glass container. So we've got these, we've got our blue color in. Don't stress about how to get the color in here. It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion, okay? So now we're going to add a little bit more of this warmer color, and it's because we have green in here. So we want to kind of mix up the color a little bit and get the reflection off of these stems. So we're going to just do a little oval shape, just like this. Just a little oval so that we can see the back side of the jar. And then we're going to add just a little bit more of the blue in here. Okay, like that. And then up here. So we're going to do this, kind of do the same thing in here with this blue, and we're going to do the oval so that we can see the back side. So remember, don't start at the line. Start here where your color is. And now we can see back through the container. We can see that it's three-dimensional. Okay? And you can add some more color in here. You know, if you think about what's in a vase, it's a kind of a mix of color. It's, you know, it's all different colors of blue and, you know, green and so I just added a little bit of green in here. And then take just a little bit more of this and just bring down a little bit more color. And we can add just a little bit now to the bottom of the lip here. Okay, now I'm going to take my bullet tip and I'm just going to get a little darker color in here, just with the bullet tip. And you can use the green, you can use the blue. Doesn't matter which one. And I'm just going to just very lightly just get a few little lines in here. Same down here. And then I'm just going to darken this stem just a little bit more. So I've got my green here. So I've got my green. I'm just taking a little bit of this green. And I'm just going to darken this just a little bit here. And just get a little darker, maybe just a little darker color in here. Okay, just like that. It's so easy, you guys. And we can just, you know, take your bullet tip and you can extend these stems if you want to. Make them a little bit longer. You know, if you want them to go clear to the bottom of the jar. And I'm just barely touching my canvas here. Okay, and that's it. That's all you have to do. That's a glass jar. Done. Totally done. And then we can come in here when we're finished, and we'll add a little bit of white paint in here just to catch the light of that jar. Okay. And you can also add some white paint. If, for example, you got too close to the edge, you can add a little bit of white paint in there and just bring that color away. Hello, Jeannie. Yes, you will be in the drawing for sure. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the terracotta pot, it's going to be very similar to the bucket. So we're stamping it in the two colors and we're going to pull that color out of the lines. Okay, so just like this. We're gonna pull that color out and we're going to have a shadow under here. Do you see that mix of blue and brown in here? Do you see that mix of color? That's so important because just stamping this, you know, in a gray or something like that, it's just not going to give us the same effect. It's just not going to. Okay, so now we're going to add the color. So we want to add color to this. So for a terracotta pot, we're going to start with a base color. And the reason we're doing a terracotta is because that's such a common pot to do. And it's really simple. So we're going to start with a base color, and you can start either with the brown, the 947, or you can start with an orange like this one. So this is the 933. And it's just, you know, it's just up to you. You can use whichever one you want. But let's do both. So let's just start out with a little bit of this brown. And remember, it's a contour, so that means the color is applied to the side. It's just applied to the side. So we lay that color down, remember in sections. Just like this. Pinch your brush off and drag it to the center. This is just the rule. This is just how to do it. Drag it to the center, and now you've got that highlight in the center, and your container is going to start to look rounded. Okay, so now we're going to do it again. We're going to take a little, and maybe we'll just take some of this now too. And by the way, mix your colors. Totally do that. Look how pretty that is. You know, mixed with that orange. And if your brush is kind of drying out, just dip it in the water again. That's so pretty with that mix of color. So you're applying that color to the sides. That's where it's going to be the darkest. Pinch your brush off, drag it to the center. Drag it to the center. And then what that does, you know, is it just kind of feathers out your color so that it's more, it's not so obvious that it's a highlight. It's not a square that's just white kind of in the middle of your pot. Want it to be subtle. Okay, see how that works? It's like magic, you guys. It just is. Okay, so now we're gonna take some of this blue, and we need a shadow because we want this to overhang. So this little lip right here, we want it to overhang, and to do that, we just put a shadow under it. Remember, the color goes below the line, and that brings the top forward. So we're gonna take a little bit of this blue, and we're just gonna add this shadow underneath. Okay, see how that just brings that forward? It's done. And now let's add some bright color to the pot. So we're gonna add a bright orange. So this is the 925, and this is bright. And again, it's just, you know, if you like this more subdued look, you know, that's just a very quiet, do it this way. And if you like this brighter color up here, then add more of this orange. Okay? Ruth Ann says, love this simple design. You guys, back to basics. Kristen says, love this live so much. You guys, I'm so happy about this. I'm so happy. I will do more of these. I will because it's so important to be successful at it. It's so important. And some of these are just such simple little tips, but they're going to make a big difference. Okay, so again, applying that color to the edge, drag it over. And you can just keep applying color. As long as this is lighter than this, you have a rounded container. And you know, when these things are, you know, outside, maybe out in the sun, like they've got a bunch of different colors. And so when you start getting your confidence and just start laying color in and just making these bright, it's going to look more and more realistic. Okay, now you can do a decoration, whatever decoration you want to do. You could do something more Southwest with a black, you know, just take a dark blue like this, or a dark gray or a black, and make, you know, a Southwest design. Me, I am a stripe person. So I don't know if I can do a project like this without a stripe somewhere. So I'm going to put a stripe in. The key to the stripe, okay, when you're putting any kind of decoration on here, is that you follow this contoured line here. You follow that line. If you put a straight line across here, you've lost everything you've just done. And now your pot looks flat, okay? So it's just so important. If you need to use a pencil and pencil it in first, do that. Take a pencil and just draw your line in. And what I mean is that you want it to match this curve right here. So when you go to put it in, you know, put your line in like this. You want to make sure that it's curved. And it can go right over the highlight. You can put it right over the highlight, doesn't matter. Okay, just like that. That makes a huge difference. That's a rule that you absolutely have to do because you will have lost all the ground that you just made making this a contour and making it rounded. Is if you make that line straight. I just love how these terracotta pots turn out, and it looks pretty gold on the screen, I think. It does on my screen, but this is a beautiful color combination. You guys try it. It is a beautiful color combination. This 925 and 933, and the combination of the oranges just is so pretty. And this would be such a fun thing to do in a row. It's just 4 terracotta pots all in a row with all different foliages. And maybe you do a Southwest design, like maybe you know, up and down like this, or look, you know, Google Southwest design on pottery and just try to duplicate that. And then maybe you have some Southwest things in here, some cactus, you know, some flowering, something, different textures. It would be just so beautiful, you guys. And I'm so glad you needed this. It's good for me too. It's really good for me because sometimes I do things and I don't say it. You know, I don't explain it really well. So this is gonna be a long one, but you guys, if you can't stay for the whole thing, it's going to be recorded and on our YouTube. So you'll always be able to find it on YouTube. Okay, so let's go to the basket. So when I'm doing the basket, I generally keep it light because of all the florals in it. And I don't want to have this be the same depth of color as the flowers because your eye doesn't know where to go. So if you've got a lot of color going on up here, you can have you want to have a lighter basket. If you've got a simple thing up here, you can add more color to the basket. The simplest way is to leave it white. We've already stamped it. We've already got a lot of color in the lines. So it's going to be really easy to just make this look three-dimensional. Okay? All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we've got this overhang here. So we need to show that. We need to show this overhang because it looks like this is all flat and all one here. So the second we draw our brush under the line, you can see how that brings that forward. Okay, we're also going to have a shadow on the side because it's a contour. So now we've got a rounded basket, just like that. So with this, so each one of these things, each one of these little sections is a contour. Can you see that on here? They're rounded. These are all rounded. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to get a shadow underneath here because they're kind of coming forward. So let's just come along here and we'll just get underneath all of these little things and just a tiny bit of water, you guys, not too much water. See the mix of color? That is so important to do this on a larger stamp, especially. Now, when you're doing something small, a tiny little thing with a lot of detail, you can use the ink pad. As long as you're inking the whole stamp, you can use the ink pad. But when you're doing something larger like this, you need this mix of color. It doesn't look realistic if you don't have it. And then down here on the bottom, you know, where it kind of bends in, we're going to have that little contour. So just very lightly, we want to show that. Now these little sections here, they sort of push in. So they can have just a little bit of color on the side. And again, here, let me just zoom in because this is really important, you guys. This is how to make a basket look realistic, okay? Barbara says, that's a great basket. What set? Okay, let me just show you really quickly. And I picked it because of the size. And it's from here. It's from these little kind of little vignettes. We call it keepsakes, but it's from here. And these are all interchangeable. And here's the terracotta pot also. And I picked these because they're bigger. They're bigger so that I can really show you how to do these details on here. Okay, so these little sections, they're pulling that basket in. So this woven area, it's being pulled in. So here's where the shadow is. You see? And this is a contour. So that means there's a light area here. So you can just carefully bring a little of this color to the center. And what that does now is it pushes this section back and brings these forward. And you have a three-dimensional little basket. And we can add just a little bit of color here too on the sides of this band as it goes. So just carefully, just a little bit. Your eye can see it. Your eye will see it. When you go to look at it, your eye's going to catch it and see, oh, this is coming forward. Oh, that's going back. So this is woven. This is woven. Okay, so just like this. Now you can leave it like this. And if I was doing this, I would leave it white. But you can add color to it. But you want to be very careful about how you add the color. Let's just do it so we can see. So we're going to take a little bit of the brown Maybe you want a brown basket, or maybe you want a colored basket. Maybe you want a green basket. You're going to apply it the same way. So you're going to apply the color here on the sides. And just be careful that you are showing these highlights. So you can see on these sections here, this is where we're gonna add that color. And then you're gonna just kind of drag it to the center again. And just do each section individually. It's so important to do that. Don't cross any lines. Don't cross any lines with your brush. Do you see what I mean by adding the color this way? And you can go back in, you can make it a little bit darker, but be careful that you don't overdo it and that you're not losing your highlights. And then you can add just a little bit in here where it's darker. Must leave now. Thanks so much. Barbara, thanks for being on with us. Okay, Mary says, I don't have this basket set. What other baskets could I use? Check the Easter sets. I think there are baskets in there with handles. Leah, if you are on, will you just give an idea of what sets could have baskets like these? I know we have other ones. And just kind of mix this color in here, okay? And just take your time. I guess that's the biggest thing I want to say to you is just take your time and do each little section, on its own. And then you can just keep adding color if you want to make it darker. And then this area, on the top here, remember there's gonna be an overhang here. So there's gonna be a shadow underneath here. And you can just take your time, just go darker and darker. You can make it as dark as you want to on this little basket. And this is just such a pretty color. It doesn't show it very well on the screen, but this brown is such a pretty color. And then the top of the basket, you can do just like we've done before, where you just apply the color to the sides, or you can use a different color. I used a green on this one. So I did the white basket and then I had a green rim on it. But you can do it like this too. And again, see that highlight on there, where that's showing. And now because we've got color on here, we want to make this shadow darker. Okay, you can see how that, overhang. And then these edges, the edges on the side, those are also going to be darker. See how realistic that looks? It looks so good. And then once you're done with that, you want to take your twin tone and you want to come in with some darker areas. So in here where these things can kind of connect, you want to just really darken those areas. And you can all it does is it adds more dimension to what you're doing. And you can see where these, things weave in and connect. That's where it's going to be the darkest, in the corners. You don't have to do it all, just a few little places. And then you could, if you want to, you can add a little detail to the band here. Maybe it's a little band like that, and it's just got a few little details on it. We can add a few little dark areas to the bottom. And under this lip here. This is going to be the darkest part of the basket, is where this overhang is. Isn't that cute? So it's just up to you, how you want to do it. You would do the color, if you were going to make this basket red or green, you're going to do it the exact same way. just the exact same way to apply the color. Siska says Peking Bunny has a decent sized basket. Yes. Benita, I'm so in awe with this. This is so much fun, you guys. This is why I say that it's really foolproof. If you could just learn a few little rules, you're gonna be successful. Okay. All right. So let's add in the foliage right now. Wait. First, let's do one thing. We want to put a shadow underneath. And shadow. This is the best shadow color, because we can't have these just kind of floating in the air. The best way to do it is just with a little bit of blue like this, and just bring it out a little bit in front. And especially under your glass container. You want to see that shadow underneath there. It's going to make it look more realistic too. You know, and underneath here is where it's going to be the darkest. And don't overthink it. Just, you know, don't overthink it. Just put a little bit of blue in the background and you're good. Okay, see how that makes a huge difference. Just a huge difference. Okay, so now we just have to put the flowers in, and we can do that. Just you can put whatever you want in here. So let's just start out on the side like we did before. So we're going to put in some florals. So these are color pops of color. So if you want to get some pops of color in here, you don't need to necessarily show every blade and every petal of the flowers. You can just get that color in. And when you're looking at think about a flower pot from a distance, and it's full of color and different, different types of flowers, but it's just full of color. Marianne says, wow, shadow under the pots. Yes, doesn't it? You guys, it's the little things. Honestly, it is. Huge difference, huh? And like I said, don't stress about it. Don't stress about it. Just, a little bit of color underneath and you're good. And isn't this blue? This is what I mean by you don't want to muddy this blue up. It's an absolutely beautiful color. It's perfect for anything to do with water and shadows. It's just an absolutely beautiful color. Okay. All right. So let's get a pop of color in here. We're going to just kind of put this in the background, and let me show you. This is also really important. How to stamp this. So this is, let me show you which stamp it is. Where is my stack of packaging here? Okay, and remember, things that are rubber are meant to be stamped in a repeat. Okay, that just means over and over again. So this little flower here is what we're using, this one. And this is right side up. Okay, so it's the opposite, because it's going to stamp like this. It's going to stamp like this. So it's going to look the opposite on the rubber. Okay, so we're going to ink it with a marker. We're just going to ink the back. And practice this a little bit, you guys. Before you start, put it into your canvas. Just practice it. So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to stamp it like this. We're not going to do that. It's never going to work. We're going to stamp it in a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, in here like this. It's just about the size of a dime. And then you're going to add some water. Dip your brush, pinch it off, remember, and dab. And you'll see that darker colors will come forward and the lighter colors will fade back. And make sure you leave out some white spaces. And now you have your little pop of color that you can just put anywhere. Okay? So let's do it. Let's put it into our bucket. And I'm using the 526 blue. So I'm going to ink that whole thing. And I'm just going to go in a circle. Okay, like this. And I can ink just a couple. And maybe I want to just go a little bit farther. Just like that. So now I've got that in here. And then I'm going to take my my vine. Before I even add any water, I'm going to take this little ivy vine like this. And I don't necessarily need the whole thing. So I'm just going to ink about 2/3 of it with my green. And remember, I'm going to stamp it a couple of times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and then maybe we'll just get another one in there like that. So 3. And then I'm just going to ink the tip. So just the tip, and I'm going to just get it in here, a couple more times like this. Okay, so now I can take my brush, dip it off, pinch it off, and I'm just going to dab at these little leaves. Just let it do its thing. We're not really doing any brush strokes with these. We're just letting them just get darker and lighter. So you can see that first impression here, how dark that is, and then how light it is after that. They just get lighter and lighter, which gives you that dimension. Makes it look like it's 3D. So here's our pop of color back here. And now we're going to put something tall in the background. So you can keep going with the foliage. You can add more foliage in here if you want to. You can add more of this vine in here. You can drag some of this color out to the background, you know, where you can just kind of drag it out here and get more of this sort of, you know, really pretty background. And then put something tall in here. So I've got this tall flower that's just right here in the background. So let's do that. And that's this one. And just get a pop of color. So something bright. So we're going to take the red, the A56, and we're just going to ink this bloom and this little bud here. And this is rubber, so you're going to stamp it a couple of times. Now, I want to make sure that I'm not, do you see how long this stamp is? I don't want to stamp over my bucket. I don't want this stem to be outside of the bucket. So I'm going to just tape it off. Just to make sure that I don't, you know, I want to make sure this stem stays inside the bucket. So I'm just going to stamp it off or tape it off like that. And now I can stamp this in here, you know, a couple of times. And maybe I'll just get one more of these little blooms and I'll just stamp it right there. And now we can take this out of the way and see we've protected our bucket so we don't have that stem. And see how that stem just sort of comes in the foreground? This is why you want something very light and kind of abstract in the background, so it's not fighting each other. And this little pop of color is just a perfect thing. And then the stems kind of come forward in the foreground of that. And it just works. So now we're going to take our brush and we're just going to touch all these little petals. And when you add the water to it, it changes the shape so that it doesn't look like a stamp. It just changes the shape enough that it looks so realistic. Now don't do anything to the stem. Don't take your brush and try to add water to the stem. Don't ever do that. That's going to make this too thick and you're going to lose this whole effect of the accent stamp. Now you can touch the leaf. You know these little leaves that are in here? You can touch those, but don't touch the stem. Just leave it alone. Okay? And we're good on this one. I mean, you can add more things to it if you want to, but we're pretty good on that. All right, we've already got this flower. So let's go into our terracotta. And here's the one that I made the mistake on. So let me just get the basic things in here and then I'll tell you guys what I did. So I want to kind of mix up the foliage. So I'm just taking the grass and I'm just going to add some grass in here with the green. You can use any kind of grass, just anything. And the grass also is meant to stamp in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. See, just like that. It's rubber. It's rubber. So it's stamped on a repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go clear to 5. Or you can go up, and over, or you can go down and around. So, and then when you add water to that, as opposed to this, okay, this is never, ever going to look realistic or it never going to work. It has to stamp on top of itself. So it's on top of itself. So 1 on top of itself, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see, we probably get one more. Okay, just like that. And then when you add water to that now, you can pull that color down and you can pull it up. And this is going to look way more realistic than this here. This isn't going to work. Okay, what is Barbara saying? My project has lots of errors, but I'm keeping it up in my craft room as a reminder of the rules. Thanks. Oh, yes. Okay. So yes, the rules, you guys, are not that many, but they are important. Okay. So let me just put this grass in here. So we're going to just grow it up. We're going to walk it in a repeat. And we're just going to get some grass into the pot. And maybe we just hang over some of it a little bit. And maybe we just need some vines growing up in here too. Let's just add a few vines in here, just like this. Just whatever, something green. Okay, so now we're going to add some water and pull that grass up. So I'm just kind of pulling it up here and just touching this little vine. Okay, so then I put in this little branch. Okay, and I wanted to kind of grow up this little branch in here and just add some, foliage to it, and then add, a few little flowers to it. So I inked it, okay, like this. And then I just kind of grew it up like that, which I think is so cute. And then I put in a little bit of foliage. So let's just change up the green. You know what? I've used that same green. So here's the 249. So I'm just going to ink the very edge of the foliage like this. And so here's what I did. So I had this all finished, okay? This was the last pot I did. And then I took my flower and and where is it? Here it is. And this is what I did. I inked the bloom with the stem, and I had already put in a couple of them. I mean, I was literally on my last flower, and I just mistakenly added green to the bloom. So tell me I'm not the only one who's done that. And the problem is you're stamping it multiple times, so you're inking it again, and then you get mixed up as to what you just inked because you're using two pens. You're using the green, and then you're using the blue. And I just went to ink the bloom and then stamped it, and I had this dark green bloom with my leaves. And it wasn't a way to fix it, because I couldn't really make that into a leaf. I was already at the top of my pot, and I couldn't really fix it. So don't forget about the watercolor eraser. You guys, not that you're going to make any mistakes like I do, but this thing will fix your errors, okay? So I stamped it just like this. I hadn't added any water to it, but take your eraser and lightly, okay? And we have these on our website. Maybe you guys have one, and just erase just lightly and just go over it again. Just keep going over it. This is the only thing that erases something off watercolor paper. A regular eraser isn't going to do it. And just really lightly, don't put it in there too hard. Just go over it again. And I got it off so that I could just restamp that blue on there. And it worked. Although look how tall this thing got. I mean, this is almost like a tree growing in here. So that wasn't my intention to make it this tall, but I wasn't going to start all over after I was on literally my last flower in this whole combination of things. So I thought, you know what? Good lesson to show you guys. Don't forget about your eraser. This thing is great, and they're not expensive. And it will literally it's taken the whole thing off. Just do it really lightly, just over and over again. You don't want to peel the layer of the paper off, but you can get almost everything off. Look at that. Okay, let's see, Marianne. The Back to Basics method has one key benefit. It relies on repeating the core rules. Hearing them over and over helps train your brain to naturally bring those principles to mind while you're working. Yes, yes, absolutely. You have to hear it over and over again, especially me. I do. I need to have things repeated to me just constantly. Where are we going tomorrow? What's on the schedule for tomorrow? What's going on? And sometimes I think I repeat things so often that I don't repeat it for a long time. And then, somebody that is on with me, maybe doesn't hear me. And so it's really important to get these things down so that you're successful. It really is. It's hugely important. Okay, so let's add some water now. So we're just going to add some water. We're just going to tap it on here, and then we're going to add the flowers to it. But don't forget about this kind of thing where you can make these little branches and grow something tall coming up out of your pot. because this adds a lot of character too. And basically what we're doing is we're trying not to make everything the same. We want to change up everything. And just like we did with the pots, where we've got a taller one, we've got a shorter one, we've got a different texture, we want to do the same with the flowers too, so that everything isn't the same. Marianne says, dab, don't stab. Exactly. Yes. Kendra's mantra for sure. Don't stab. So when you're adding water, okay, so you're not doing it like this, where you're just stabbing, you're just dabbing. Your brush is, your hand is on the canvas. Your hand is on the canvas, and you're holding the brush like a pencil, and you're dabbing. You're just dabbing like this. The stamps will do their thing. The light will fade back, the dark will come forward, and you'll have something three-dimensional. You just will. Okay, so now let's put the flowers in. And we've got these little blooms. So again, remember, we've got things that are outlines like this, that are open blooms, and then we've got things that are solid, and things that are solid are meant to be stamped over and over again. So at least twice. So we're going to ink this, and let's see, what color should we do here? The blue, probably. Let's do the blue. That's how I clean my stamps. And by the way, you guys, these fingers will get so inky and dirty because you're constantly pinching off your brush. But it's the price to pay to just be brilliant artists. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here because I don't want my stem to stamp outside of my pot. And just have a little thing like this handy. I do. I have these all over the place. And I just pick it up and I just cover my pot. You don't have to cut a mask that is the shape of the pot. You don't have to do that. That would just take too much time. So, okay, so let's take the blue. Make sure that I'm stamping, make sure that I'm inking the bloom blue and the stem green. Okay, just like this. And then I'm just going to stamp this kind of off to the side, and maybe just one more time up here. And then let's see, we're going to do one up here. So let's do the other one, go in the other direction. Here it is. Let's do this one, go in the other direction. Blue on the bloom. Green on the stem. And you don't need the whole stem either. You don't have to necessarily do the whole stem. And now we're going to add just a little bit of water. So we're just going to touch it. Just touch it. Leave those white spaces. And we'll add the water, and then we'll see if we need to add anything. See how these light ones just kind of fade back into the distance? It's so cool. And then you can add just a little brush stroke to the leaves. And then just remove your little tape, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's do this one. And we're going to add some color in here, so let's do that. And I'm using the red. And we're just going to do the pop of color again. And you know, hang it over the edge. You can do that too. And just stamp this until you remember, in a circle. In a circle. And then let's do the blue. Let's do the blue. I've got one blue and one red so that I don't have to clean them off. Because that red, trying to get the red off of there is just, yeah. It's tricky. Okay, so we're putting the red in, or the blue in here. And just, you know, stamp over itself. Just over itself. So not in a giant circle, you know, but just in a circle about the size of a dime. And just practice it, you guys. Just practice it. So now add your water. Make sure to leave some white spaces. Same with the red. Leave those white spaces. Okay, and now you can add your greenery. You can add your, let's just use the large vine here. Let's use this green. So I'm using the 249 again. I'm just mixing up the greens. And I'm just inking the tip. So remember, when you're using the marker, you can ink the part of the stamp that you want to ink. You don't have to ink the whole thing. And rarely, honestly, do we ever use the whole stamp when we're doing stuff like this. Most of the time, it's just parts of it. And then let's just, maybe we'll just, you know, hang a couple off the edge like that, which we can do. And then maybe we'll just go a little bit taller here. So we're basically just filling up the basket, and fill up this area in the front first, and then add something tall in the background. That's basically all you have to remember. And you can also take this color that you've got hanging off and you can drag it out a little bit. And you just can kind of create this background that is just really artsy looking. It looks very much like a watercolor. It just gets really soft. Everything kind of gets soft and kind of blended out. Okay, so let's add the tall things in here. Let's add something tall. Let's see, what did I have? This one. So we can ink this. Let's switch up the green. And we'll just put something in here like this, just for different texture. And then the tall flowers. So let's do these again. Where is that tall flower? So again, I'm using the red. This is just the same red, the 856. And then I don't need to use the whole thing. So I'm just going to take my tape again and just cover, just to make sure. And there we go. I mean, everything is easy, you guys. And you know, sometimes these projects take a little bit longer, just depending on what we've got going and how many containers and what we're putting in them. But they're never hard. They're never hard. They're always simple. Canson sells 140 press watercolor book. Use it to stamp, practice things like, yes. Okay, good to know. Here's what we use. That's a good point. Here's what wow, that's really big. This is the paper we use. Canson watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press. This is my favorite. And I started out with other types of watercolor paper. For the money, this is the way to go, I think, for what we do. And I cut it in fourths. So this is 9 by 12, and you get a 4.5 by 6 little square, and that's what this is, 4.5 by 6. Okay, so let's just keep going here. And now you can look back and see if you want to add any more color. You can take your color from your palette and you can add in a little more dab of color into here. And we can look at, you know, anywhere else that maybe we want to add, you know, any darker color, any other detail. We've got all of our really good shadows in here. We could have just a little shadow under this little lip. And if you just put that blue mark under it, everything comes forward. So everything over the top is going to come forward. It just works. Put something in the background like that. Okay, let's add a little bit of white paint. And you can see, okay, this has been bugging me. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but where I inked this flower, I've got a little bit of this. I got the next section of the flowers, and I've got a little tiny line here. So I can either use the eraser and take that out with the eraser. I can use the white paint and just kind of go over it, or I can just blend it out. So let's try to just blend it out. I think it's pink, and I think we can probably just blend it out into the background. And I think that's actually really cute. Kind of just gives a little bit of a, a halo effect. But the thing about this too, you guys, nobody would ever guess that it's stamped. Nobody would ever guess. They would think that you painted it 100%. So do you see this little shadow here over this little pot is kind of coming in front of here. So we can just put that little shadow in also. Okay, so let's add the white paint. Let's add a little bit of white because we can, because we just love this so much. This is P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. If you've not seen this before, this is my best friend right here in a jar. It just works so well. And the thing about it is it's water-based, so it washes off your brush really well, easily cleans up, but it is very opaque, so it will sit on top of your color. And any other white paint will just pick up the color underneath it because it's water-based, but this doesn't. So it will sit on top of all this dark color and it will stay white. So you want to dip your brush in water and you just kind of want to get it in here and just get your paint. This is how I do it. You could take this out and put it on a palette too. But I think this just works great. So I just get my brush wet and I kind of, you know, thin out my paint a little bit because it does get thick in here. And I'm still using my number 4 brush. And here's where we can add like some little details. So I had that little heart that I just added on here, which I think is so cute. Just a little heart or a little detail. Here's where you can add another stripe if you want to add something. For example, let's just see if we can put a stripe. In the center like that. How cute is that? And then of course my favorite thing is to just add little white flowers into the mix. And they can kind of be hanging over a little bit. And then maybe we'll just put some in here. Maybe we've got some kind of growing up in these little vines. And then, you know, if you want to, you can just add a little white center into your flowers, kind of brighten them up a little bit. And then in here, you can add a little white into your these little pops of color too. You know, you can add a little highlight, you know, in here. You can add more highlights into your glass container too. And like I said, the more that you do this, the more confidence you're gonna have to do stuff like this, to just put paint somewhere. So I'm trying to get it thin enough so that I can get a really good thin line. So, you know, if you get your color a little too close to the edge, just come in with your white paint and you'll get that edge back. And here's where you can also add some, you know, highlights into here. So maybe just right over these little stems too. And in here. Okay, you guys, can you believe it? We made it. We made it through. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap this up? Robin says, can't wait to try it. Robin, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And here's the other thing. This is the other rule. You must sign. You must sign and date. And dating is important because you need to see your progress. And wow, some of my things from even, you know, 6 or 7, 8 years ago are just look totally different than what I'm doing now. And also it's because we do it every day. You know, I'm on here, I've got watercolor out every day. So give it a try. Just, you know, there are all different types of ways to do it. You know, as far as your colors go, you can change up the colors, you know, so much. And, you know, change out your florals, however. But you have to sign. You absolutely have to. And then put the date. Because it's an absolute work of art. And you're using tools like pens and a brush and stamps. Stamps are just a tool, but you're making it your own. So you're using these tools and you're creating something that is beautiful, that is your own work. So it doesn't matter if you're using stamps. It's the same as using a brush. You want to sign it, it's your own work. And it's a one of a kind. It's going to be a one of a kind. Okay? So let me switch back now so that I can see if there are any questions from any of you about this technique. And you guys put it in the comments. If you, even after I'm off, I can check the comments and see if there's any more questions on here. Or you can email Leah, feedback@artimpressions.com. If you're struggling with anything, it's probably something little, simple, that's an easy fix. and we can get to the bottom of it. So email feedback@artimpressions.com to Leah. She'll forward it to me, and I'll help you figure that out. Okay? So everyone, thanks so much for being, wow, it's 12:04. Okay, that was a 2-hour session, you guys. How many have been on with me for 2 hours, you guys? This has been a marathon, but I felt like it was so needed to do it. And, now you guys have a reference to go back to, and I can do more of these. There are ways to stamp lots of different things, and we can break things down and make it more simple for you. So you guys, just what a fun day. It's just been so much fun. I love your comments. Thanks for all your encouragement. You guys are just the best. So thanks for hanging in with me. And I will see you all next week for Watercolor Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day, the great rest of your week and your weekend, and I'll see you next week.